You might have felt it recently, a strange, almost electric shift coursing through your life, like waking from a dream to discover the room around you completely rearranged. This is no random phenomenon. The old timeline that once changed your steps has been dissolved, removed by a force greater than human decree. You sense it in your bones. God has deleted what no longer served you. Now, as you stand on the cusp of something vast and uncharted, you can almost feel the universe holding its breath, waiting to see how you will navigate this final test. Everything that once held you back is fading, and you're left with the undeniable truth that no illusions can survive this level of cosmic recalibration. If you recognize the hum of truth in these words, if some part of you is already whispering that this message was meant to find you, then like this video, subscribe, and comment 77 below to affirm you are open to the transformation already in motion. Chapter 1. A door you once feared is about to open. You sense its presence, even when you close your eyes. A door that loomed in the periphery of your old timeline. You had glimpses of it in your dreams, where you felt its energy in those fleeting moments of intuition you used to brush aside. For the longest time, stepping through that door was too daunting. Whether it was fear of stepping beyond the known, or the lingering illusions whispered by hidden antagonists. Something insisted you should remain on the outside, never daring to cross the threshold. Now that fear dissolves. With the old timeline deleted, all that remains is your unfiltered potential. There are no more illusions to keep you from seeing that door for what it truly is. An entryway into the destiny that's been calling your name since before you could form the words to describe it. The watchers, silent observers of your journey, stand by with measured calm, aware of how crucial this moment is. You can almost feel their presence at your back, a gentle assurance that you've not imagined this door's importance. Of course, hidden forces once manipulated you into believing your readiness was forever in question. They thrived on illusions that told you your wings were too fragile to bear the winds of change. Yet illusions wither under the light of cosmic law. Now that your old timeline has been erased, their scaffolding of deception topples. You stand in a realm where karmic justice unfolds swiftly, revealing the door as not just a possibility, but a necessity. Ancestral protection rings through your being, echoing tales of forebears who stood before similar thresholds. Some might have hesitated, lacking the knowledge you now hold, while others walked through but never managed to close the door behind them. You were different. The illusions that once claimed your lineage no longer have dominion here. So, you approach the door you once feared, finding your heart steady and your conviction strong. The watchers can see the shift in your aura. No longer laced with worry, but radiant with acceptance. When you finally place your hand on the handle, you recognize that the door was always meant to yield to your touch. Chapter 2. The hidden timeline that tried to claim you. Even as you prepare to stride into uncharted possibility, fragments of the old timeline still flicker at the edges of memory, reminding you how meticulously it sought to program your identity. This was never a random string of misfortunes, but a calculated blueprint designed to shrink your horizon and muffle your cosmic DNA. Perhaps it began as a family pattern, generations circling the same drain of betrayal, scarcity, or quiet terror. Maybe it sprouted in a friendship that dimmed your spark, or in a romance that caged your brilliance behind glass, labeled too much. However it entered, illusion threaded itself through daily routines until it felt dangerous to deviate from what we've always done. These illusions drew power from hidden antagonists, people, energies, even cultural doctrines that profited from your smallness. Some mocked your dreams outright. Others wrapped criticism in concern. Be realistic. Play it safe. Who do you think you are? The watchers, attuned to karmic oscillations, recorded every subtle sabotage. They knew illusions crystallize when the target mistakes them for granite truth. Yet illusions wither before the logic of universal law. Karmic justice, guided by ancestral wisdom, arranged micro-earthquakes beneath the old timeline. A job closed so another could open. A coincidental book landed in your lap. A conversation with a stranger named the very longing you'd buried. These were cosmic post-it notes whispering, "Exit is this way." At night, dreams became training grounds. corridors of mirrors where each reflection invited you to choose authenticity over mimicry. Every mirrored version dissolved as you walked past until only one remained, the real you waiting. With each epiphany, the hidden timeline's grip loosened. Allies who demanded your silence faded, or their masks cracked to reveal agendas of control. The childhood mantra, "Don't outshine," lost its rhythm on your tongue. You noticed bodily cues too. A surge of nausea when you contemplated returning to old roles, a full-body calm when you rehearsed new possibilities. The watchers cheered these somatic truths. The body never lies. Then came the coup grass. God pressed delete. You felt it like a collective exhale the moment scaffolding collapsed and dust settled into stillness. Old triggers no longer detonated. Emails from former puppeteers landed with dull thuds, stripped of emotional charge. Even memories rewrote themselves. Scenes once tinted with shame now glowed with hard-won wisdom. Your nervous system, freed from chronic hypervigilance, began to trust slow breaths and wide horizons. In that hush, ancestral voices grew louder, not lamenting past wounds, but celebrating your jailbreak. Great-grandmothers danced across dreamscapes, braiding your hair with threads of courage. A grandfather you never met handed you a compass inscribed truth over tradition. They understood that your liberation edits their stories too, sending retroactive healing up the family tree. Yet the vacuum left by a collapsed timeline can feel disorienting. In liminal hours you might ask, who am I without the struggle? The watchers answer by unfurling synchronicities. A childhood hobby resurfaces as a viable vocation. An old friend reappears rewritten by their own awakening. A sudden urge to travel aligns with a discounted ticket to a city that has always called your name. Each nudge says, identity is not a cage but a canvas. Start painting. To anchor the new coding, practice conscious rituals. Speak declarations that contradict the former script. I expand without permission. I succeed without apology. Walk a different route to work, letting your feet memorize freedom. Create a living will of non-negotiables, values and boundaries that guard against future attempts at containment. Celebrate small rebellions, wearing the color considered too loud, taking the class deemed impractical, resting without guilt. Unexpectedly, occasional echoes, an old antagonist may test the waters with a nostalgic text, or society's collective fear may trigger residual doubts. When this happens, smile in recognition. An echo is not an earthquake. Ground yourself in the evidence. The peace in your gut, the ancestral applause in your bloodstream, the watcher's silent thumbs up. You emerge from the wreckage of that constructed reality to find the cosmos standing in ovation. Your cosmic DNA, no longer cross-wired by inherited compromise, now broadcasts on its original frequency. Clear, resonant, unretractable. The hidden timeline tried to claim you. Instead, your awakened perspective claimed it, folding it into a footnote that begins once upon a limitation and ends until I remembered who I was. Chapter 3. The Pulse of Karmic Justice. When the old timeline collapsed, it did not slip away in silence. It fractured like glass, sending shock waves through every layer of your life and prompting a chain reaction in the universal tapestry. Karmic justice is no capricious punishment. It is the cosmic ledger balancing itself so each cause meets its corresponding effect. Now that illusions no longer color your perception, you witness the aftermath unfolding around you. Those who built their influence on your insecurity, who prospered by stoking your doubts, look on in bewilderment as the pillars of their control crumble into dust. You see it in subtle yet undeniable shifts. The colleague who once jocked for your ideas is abruptly reassigned. The relative who mocked your ambitions now grapples with unanticipated setbacks. The watchers regard these events as the logical outflow of timeline correction. Your liberated frequency repels the negativity once grafted to your aura. Manipulators find locked gates where open doors used to be, learning too late that the cosmic code has updated. Your ancestors amplify this protective field. Their presence girds each boundary you voice. Toxic figures either withdraw from your orbit or discover they lack the leverage to infiltrate. In dreams, you stride through shadowed corridors while dark silhouettes disperse at your glance. an astral dramatization of how falsity disintegrates in the face of sovereignty. Karmic justice is visible, tangible. Every hidden antagonist harvests the seed they sowed. Yet retribution is not its chief aim. The higher mandate is equilibrium. Oppression flourishes where illusion blinds. Truth dismantles its staging grounds. Once your inner sight crystallized, old power dynamics lost their camouflage. Attempts to reinstall the familiar hierarchy crash against an unyielding wall. Your cosmic DNA now resonates with clarity too high for deception to inhabit. The watchers note the momentum, seeing a radiant ring of protection form around you. This is not vengeance. It is light revealing every shadow's hiding place. With balance restored, a second responsibility arises: stewardship. Karmic justice sweeps away what no longer aligns, but it also invites you to construct new structures on cleansed ground. What will you plant where weeds once grew? Compassion tempered by boundaries. Generosity laced with discernment. Creativity unmarred by self-doubt. These virtues thrive in soil newly purified. You will sense the pulse of justice in moments both grand and granular. A project delayed for years suddenly gains funding because its time is ripe. A community plagued by conflict finds unexpected accord after truths come to light. Cosmic law is precise. Every weight removed from one side of the scale demands an equal uplift elsewhere. Your personal awakening, therefore, propagates restorative ripples into wider circles you may never physically touch. Do not be surprised if blame migrates toward you from those still clad in illusion. They feel the energetic quake, yet cannot locate its origin, so they target the most visible change. You hold zero animosity. Remember, karmic justice corrects systems, not just individuals. Offer the possibility of freedom through your example, but respect their sovereign choice to remain where they stand. Free will walks hand in hand with universal law, and not all souls will opt for liberation in this lifetime. Self-accountability remains crucial. Illusions once external may attempt subtler entry through unhealed corners of your psyche. A flare of envy, a dormant grudge, a reflex to overprove worth. Treat these flickers as maintenance prompts, not moral failings. Pause, acknowledge, and transmute. The cosmic scales respond not to perfection, but to intention aligned with truth. Practical disciplines anchor this harmony. Daily gratitude to recalibrate perspective. Spoken affirmations that reinforce sovereign identity. Acts of service that circulate positive momentum. Each practice becomes a rhythmic drumbeat, syncing you to the pulse of karmic justice. Even mundane choices, paying a debt on time, returning a lost item, refusing to gossip, fortify the balance field around you. Notice, too, a broader synchronicity emerging. As manipulative structures collapse in your micro-world, parallel exposures surface globally, corrupt systems unveiled, hidden abuses confronted, collective narratives challenged. Your personal timeline correction is a microcosm of planetary recalibration. The watchers hint that your integrity adds wattage to this global lantern, illuminating corners where humanity long sat in shadows. In essence, you stand in the eye of karmic recalibration, calm, clear, and unmovable. Illusions once caged you. Now they implode before your unwavering gaze. Each echo of collapse is both an end and an invitation. Step boldly into the chaos of falling facades, not as a demolition worker, but as an architect of the new. Let the unraveling that confounds others remind you the universe is shaking loose everything misaligned with truth. This chapter closes on a note of solemn assurance. Karmic justice does not slumber. It orchestrates convergence. The watchers, silent yet attentive, witness your choices reverberate across freshly cleansed reality. They know balancing forces favor those who honor clarity. You have chosen that clarity, and your decision rings out like a tuning fork, affirming that illusion cannot anchor where unwavering truth presides. Chapter 4. The final test that stands before you. It would be comforting to imagine that the end of illusion signals the end of challenges, but the watchers know better. You have stepped onto uncharted ground, a landscape where the horizon brims with possibilities, yet demands proof that your clarity is more than a passing revelation. This final test is not a regression into fear. It is the verification of mastery, The moment your internal landscape crystallizes into outward action. The Watchers call this threshold the gate of full integration. Here you stand face to face with echoes of your former life, habits, relationships, and cravings that once defined your comfort zone. Some will approach dressed in nostalgia, coaxing you to return to simpler times. Others will appeal to guilt, former allies claiming you owe them space in your new world. Each scenario is a mirror that asks, have you truly internalized the lessons born from shattered illusions? Illusions rarely surrender territory without one final siege. Whispered what-ifs slip into your thoughts. What if I misread the signs? What if this clarity is a temporary high? What if my boldness isolates me? Yet universal law fortifies your defenses. Resonance repels what no longer matches your frequency. Ancestral guardians, close ranks, amplifying dream communications that remind you how far you've come. In these lucid visions, you traverse once terrifying mazes with casual grace, corridors glowing as your inner light pushes shadows to the brink. Hidden antagonists, if any remain, grow frantic. Their sabotage morphs into odd manifestations. Out-of-nowhere rumors, gaslighting, apologies too good to be true, opportunities. Each tactic seeks a microscopic crack in your certainty, but illusions can anchor only where permission exists. And you have revoked all entry visas. The Watchers note that this last gauntlet measures not their cunning, but your non-negotiable allegiance to truth. Passing means transcending the need for validation entirely, standing resolute even if applause never arrives. Your cosmic DNA hums with ancestral applause. Generations who battled but never dismantled these patterns feel the reverberation of your breakthroughs. In spiritual physics, their victories and yours converge. They supply strength and you offer completion. You become a living testament that bloodline limitations are negotiable, that one awakened soul can finalize centuries of unfinished business. The Watchers record this synergy, aware it expands your field of influence far beyond personal fulfillment. This climactic test may not appear dramatic. It could arrive as a text from someone who once exploited your kindness, or a business proposal glittering with quick profit but concealed compromise, or a melancholic afternoon where you romanticize a season that nearly destroyed you. The outward simplicity masks monumental consequence. Every response is a vote, old timeline or new paradigm. Bend and the cycle reopens. Stand tall and the door seals forever behind you. To anchor your stance, call to mind the labyrinths already conquered. Recall the dull ache of self-betrayal, the nights when fear dictated terms, the hollow victory scored under the banner of approval. Contrast them with the solid peace that now steadies your breath. This peace is your compass when choices cloud. Track the option that preserves that calm. Practical rituals reinforce your sovereignty. Speak a louder boundary before a mirror. The vibration trains your nervous system to treat no as sacred ground. Your body, walk barefoot on earth. Plunge your hands into cold water so old temptations cannot seduce you into dissociation. Write a list titled Non-Negotiables and read it whenever doubt sneaks in. These small acts form a firewall around the gate of full integration. What awaits beyond the gate? Mastery, emboldened by humility. Challenges will persist, but they will meet a different version of you, one who dialogues with obstacles instead of bargaining with them. Relationships will recalibrate. Those aligned with truth will thrive. Those powered by illusion will fade without fanfare. Purpose will sharpen like a blade. Distraction will dull into background noise. The Watchers hold their breath, but they already sense your verdict. You have weathered storms designed to drown lesser resolve. You have mined wisdom from rubble and transmuted generational debris into generational gold. Now you inhale, spine long, gaze steady, and exhale a silent decree. Illusions hold no claim here. With that breath, the gate swings open, not by external force, but by the magnetic certainty radiating from your core. You step through, leaving echoes behind, and the horizon greets you with a dawn reserved only for those who finish the race in uncompromising truth. Chapter 5. Ancestral protection rises to meet you. If you ever believed you walk this path alone, let this be your awakening. The Watchers have recorded how your entire bloodline stirred the moment you rejected illusion. These are not airy notions. They are living frequencies encoded in your DNA. Resilience hammered out by ancestors who wrestled famine, exile, and injustice, yet refused to vanish. The unveiling of illusion ignites them in one shared intent. They stand as pillar while you face your final test. You feel them in quiet hours, a cool brush on the cheek at 3 a.m., a voice in a dream repeating the name of a forgotten great-grandmother, a sudden surge of stamina when your own will falters. In daylight, you catch subtle signals, a dropped photograph that froze mid-fall on its frame, an heirloom brooch you never wore now shimmering like a beacon, a childhood melody that resurfaces with fresh meaning. These are breadcrumbs of guidance, stitching an invisible safety net so illusion cannot drag you backward. Once, deception fractured your lineage, pitting sibling against sibling, splicing culture from identity, choking spiritual inheritance. That age collapsed when you stepped off the old timeline. Instantly, ancestral channels split wide like fold lines releasing holy water. Their strength braids with yours, forming an energetic armor that repels slander, envy, psychic attack. Dreams transform into panoramic councils. Faces from every era lean forward, sharing scars and solutions, reminding you each victory rewrites history in both directions. Hidden antagonists may try their final gambit, reawakening dormant feuds, baiting you with poison nostalgia, weaponizing family myths. Yet illusions shrivel under ancestral unity. Karmic law decrees that exploiters of bloodline pain will reap what they sow, often within the very cycles they plotted. Standing in this vortex, you remain unmoved. Every ancestor's survival tale becomes a steel rung on the ladder you climb. Watchers marvel at how rapidly dormant power activates once deceit is cut loose. Honor the exchange. Each time you speak words of healing over your surname, you water roots long starved of validation. When you light a candle or place fresh flowers beside a dusty portrait, spirits lean in, warmed by recognition they begged for in life. As you liberate yourself from generational shame, they too ascend, released from unprocessed grief. This reciprocity echoes like a tuning fork through centuries, correcting ancestral trajectories and seeding future ones with blessing. Practical rituals strengthen the bond. Keep an ancestral altar with photos, heirlooms, or written prayers. Pour a libation of clean water each dawn. Journal the wisdom that floods your dreams before it evaporates in the noise of day. Recite their names aloud. Names are keys. When anxieties surge, envision their hands laid over your shoulders, forming a living wall. Feel how your pulse synchronizes with theirs, a multi-generational heartbeat beating illusion into retreat. Science now confirms what mystics knew. Trauma and triumph echo in epigenetic markers. Each choice you make, sobriety over self-numbing, forgiveness over vengeance, creativity over scarcity, signals your cells to switch pathways, turning ancestral wounds into ancestral superpowers. Grandchildren not yet conceived will inherit upgraded blueprints because you dared to transmute pain. Trust the flickers of intuition that seem to arrive from nowhere. They are ancestral text messages. Trust the uncanny near misses when danger skids away. That is a great-grandfather redirecting probabilities. Releasing illusion granted your lineage permission to intervene openly. The Watchers view this synergy with hushed respect, for it is rare when one awakening revives an entire family soul. As you approach the final gate, remember, you march flanked by elders in unseen ranks. Their lullabies ride the wind. Their war cries echo beneath your feet. With every step, you reclaim lost lands in the inner world, transforming old battlegrounds into sanctuaries. You are the hinge on which centuries turn, proof that darkness cannot eclipse a bloodline once it remembers the light. Chapter 6. Seeing Beyond the Illusions. Others cannot. At this stage, something subtle yet seismic unfolds. Your vision widens, and illusions that once blended into everyday scenery now flash like neon warnings. Friends, relatives, and co-workers still enmeshed in fantasy appear almost translucent, their intentions visible through the thin fabric of their stories. The Watchers call this gift the eagle's gaze, eyes that pierce distraction and rest on the marrow of a matter. It is not judgment that rises in you, but compassion laced with urgency for those trapped in narratives they cannot yet name as false. You begin noticing how people cling to illusions for different reasons. Some do so because challenging the lie would unravel the comfort they've curated. Others glimpse the cracks, yet fear the cost of living in full truth. Illusions survive on collective agreement. If an entire circle silently consents, falsehood masquerades as stability. Now, standing outside that agreement, you neither feed nor validate the charade. Your very presence unsettles the performance. Old acquaintances feel seen through and may accuse you of changing, when in reality you are finally perceiving clearly. Hidden antagonists who once thrived on your uncertainty cannot operate in sunlight. The co-worker who undercut your ideas, the friend who weaponized your loyalty, the relative who authored guilt, each loses leverage. They might intensify tactics, hoping to pull you back into scripted roles. Peacemaker, rescuer, scapegoat. Yet illusions cannot guilt an awakened soul. You've traded chronic self-doubt for calibrated intuition. If words and energy misalign, you notice. If motives contradict declarations, you feel the dissonance like static in a radio signal. Universal law teaches that clarity, once embodied, creates a permanent rift with deception. You may wonder how to relate to those still living inside the old script. Karmic justice does not appoint you savior. It appoints you steward of your frequency. You keep your field clean. If loved ones persist in illusion, you grant them the dignity of their own timing, even if that means loving from afar. The Watchers warn that illusions feed on empathic overreach. A heroic rescue attempted before someone is ready can entangle you in fresh webs. Your ancestors applaud this balanced stance. They know how many generations were consumed by dramas of rescue and betrayal. Freed from that cycle, you model a new leadership. You honor free will while guarding your cosmic DNA from contamination. In dreams, you may find yourself soaring over mountain ranges or standing on vast plateaus, landscapes symbolizing altitude of perception. At such heights, the swirl of drama looks like the dust of distant villages. You can pray, bless, release, but you are no longer engulfed. From this vantage, empathy and detachment coexist. You can sit with a grieving friend without absorbing hopelessness. Listen to a co-worker's complaint without being drafted into gossip. Witness society's panic without drowning in collective fear. Your clarity becomes a lighthouse. Those ready for true north will navigate toward your beam. Those still mesmerized by mirages may curse your glare. Both responses are acceptable. Your job is not to dim, but to shine. Practical boundaries solidify around this awareness. You curate information. You decline invitations that reek of old chaos. You invest energy where reciprocity lives. When conversation drifts into rumor, you redirect or go silent. When an opportunity arrives dressed as gold yet smells of compromise, you test its weight before accepting. Discernment becomes second nature, as instinctive as blinking. Meanwhile, the Watchers record subtle victories, moments when you choose aligned solitude over counterfeit connection, when you speak an inconvenient truth and the room inhales, when a younger soul overhears your boundary and realizes permission to set their own. These micro-shifts ripple outward, eroding collective illusion grain by grain. Occasionally, melancholy nudges you, nostalgia for simpler days, grief for relationships that could not survive your clarity. Let the emotion wash through. It is proof of your heart. Softness, not weakness. Then release it like exhaled vapor in cold air. Your path is forward. The era of shrinking to maintain comfort has ended. Thus, you walk with quiet authority. Illusions swirl among the unawakened. But you no longer audition for their play. You remain anchored in cosmic truth, shielded by ancestral endorsement and validated by the Watcher's silent nod. Whether others awaken is their sacred choice. You stand in unwavering faith that illusions hold no power where light is present. You see them, name them, and watch them dissolve before they can root in your domain. Then continue, eyes forward, toward horizons only the clear-sighted can perceive. Chapter 7, Claiming the Future. Free from old timelines. Here you stand, in the place illusions once told you never existed. A space unbound by the false constructs of your old timeline. A realm where your cosmic DNA flourishes without restraint. It's neither utopia nor some wishful fantasy. It's a space of raw, empowered potential, shaped by your decision to see through illusions and embrace universal laws as your guiding principle. The watchers linger at the edges, not in doubt, but in solemn respect, observing how you integrate every revelation that has led you here. You feel the shift in your every cell, that sense of finality combined with thrilling possibility. Karmic justice has leveled the field, removing obstructions that once seemed insurmountable. Freed from illusions, you are capable of stepping forward to shape a new reality for yourself, and by extension, those who choose to walk alongside you. This final test, God deleting your old timeline, proves that no matter how entrenched illusions were, they can never permanently derail a destiny if a soul remains receptive to truth. Yet this is not the end of your story. It's the culminating moment of one chapter, the prologue to the next. You've arrived at a vantage point where your identity is neither shaped by your past nor limited by the illusions others cling to. You can feel your ancestors exhale in collective relief, as though they've yearned across generations for someone to break this cycle. The watchers, too, silently acknowledge that you stand as a testament to the power of awakened cosmic DNA. They know that no illusions can reclaim you now. Your faith has reached a caliber that illusions cannot permeate. The horizon of new possibilities demands more than idle dreaming. It calls for decisive action, for expansions you once deemed unattainable. Packing your bags was never just a metaphor. It's a tangible instruction to leave behind stale influences, outdated beliefs, and the gravitational pull of old timelines. In this open field of potential, you have both the freedom and the responsibility to shape your next steps in accordance with higher principles. If illusions once paralyzed you, now your vision can roam unbounded, forging paths that mirror the brilliance you carry within. What remains is your choice in how you wield this freedom. Some might counsel caution, but illusions taught you caution can morph into paralysis. Others might push reckless ambition, but you've learned that illusions feed on desperate grasping. The watchers, stationed in the silent vigilance, encourage a middle way, a commitment to growth that respects universal laws, fosters ancestral healing, and upholds the truths you fought so hard to reveal. Every day you step further into this new life, your cosmic DNA continues to reprogram, aligning synchronicities and resources that validate you're on the right trajectory. Look around and notice the difference in how the world meets your gaze. You see deeper, respond slower to triggers, hold your ground with a calm that confounds those who expect you to revert to old patterns. Joy finds you in simple things. The morning sky, a random act of kindness, the subtle sense of your ancestors smiling through the wind. You realize that illusions can't overshadow genuine presence. If any remain unconvinced of your transformation, that is their journey, not yours. You no longer perform for external validation, having recognized that illusions thrive when you forget the cosmic harmony that orchestrates your path. And so, you claim a future unchained from all timelines, stepping fully into a purpose that illusions can never touch. The watchers take note of your final stance, poised, unwavering, radiating a quiet mastery that can only be gained through confronting and dismantling every illusion that dared stand in your way. This is your victory, your testament to the unstoppable light that emerges when cosmic truth aligns with human determination. You have passed the final test, and no illusions remain to bar your path. Breathe in the liberation, feel your lineage exhale in relief, and walk on, chosen one, into an unfolding destiny that once seemed distant, but now claims you wholeheartedly.